Hi everyone, it's Holly Making, and we are back with Not a Dream, the final draft. Again, my camera's not working, so sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but I guess today it decided it didn't work, so we're gonna just look at the page instead of my face, and I did the gesture in front of my face, like it's gonna do something. It doesn't, I promise. You can't see it. But yeah, anyway, so we are on chapter 21. We only have 4 more chapters after this one, so yay, almost done. Took me long enough. I'm a procrastinator, a professional, so it's only a matter of time. Alright, so let's get started. Chapter 21, Separation. Helen awoke with a start. She had just dreamed that Troy had told Ellen to kill her or die herself. She waited until her heartbeat had slowed down and then inspected where she was. It was obviously a hospital room with a bed and one small window that sat behind her. It was night outside by the look of it, but she couldn't look long, for it was an effort to move at all, and already she felt tired. She scrunched her nose up uncomfortably. It smelled too clean where she lay. The doorknob began to turn as someone entered the room. Helen watched them walk in with fear in the pit of her stomach. A man stepped in. He had short black hair with a mustache and goatee to match. His smile was bright and full of kindness. Helen observed his long white coat and decided he was her doctor. "Hello," the doctor said to her. "I am Lando, and I am here to look after you." "I understand that much," Helen said to him, feeling as though he thought she was stupid. I gotta question myself. Shouldn't she be able to sense who he is? Just Lando laughed a heartwarming laugh. It rang loud and strong inside the tiny room. "Well, I apologize." He winked at her, understanding at once how she had felt. "I am happy to report your ankle is going to be fine, and that your strange abilities will go away." "But why?" Helen asked, her eyebrows creasing. Her little bit of usefulness would be gone forever. She's very useful now. "Don't look so sad. It really is more trouble than it's worth," Lando informed her. He walked over to her bed and uncovered her ankle. Helen flinched when he reached for the injury, but his touch was a welcome, cool feeling. "I must say, I will be a little disappointed when this curse will finally be gone. I've been depending on my abilities for far too long," he said when he saw Helen's reaction to his touch. "How long has this curse been around?" Helen asked the man. "I believe it's been 20 years, Lando said, suddenly looking very tired. "We don't age, and the only thing that can kill us are those awful fog people." How did it all start? She couldn't believe she had never thought to ask before. Oh, heavens. Lando shook his head with a frown on his face. "Is there anyone you want to talk to?" he asked her, not answering her question. "Yes," Helen said after a second of thought. "Can you send Allison in here?" "Very well." Lando turned on his heel. "I'll be back in just a moment." When Lando disappeared through the door, Ellen stepped out from behind the door. "Why didn't you tell him I was here?" "Because," Helen said to her. Ellen had been the first person to come through the door. She had hid behind the door when Lando entered. "I have something I want you to do." Helen was almost positive that Ellen was there to kill her, and so she made sure that Lando would be returning shortly. "What is it?" Ellen asked her. As much as she disliked Helen, she didn't want to kill the girl, and anything she could do that would get her out of her deal with Troy would be a welcome task. "She's awake," Lando announced in the waiting room. There was a wave of relief that flowed through the hospital room. Son was still sitting against her bear alongside of the girl as she stroked her hair lovingly. John and Andrew both stood expectantly and wait. Allison spoke for the first time since Ellen had returned from outside. The group looked at her. The spirit slid off of the windowsill and walked silently over to the doctor. Burke stayed where he had been standing, knowing it was best he stayed out of the way. "She wishes to only see me." Lando smiled a crooked smile. "I figured she would summon you with her mind," he said. "Would you like me to guide you there?" "No," Allison said. She sounded very distant. "For some strange reason, I can find it just fine. Besides, they may need you here to tell about her condition." Leonard nodded. "Well then, go ahead and go on back." John and Andrew moved to follow her. "You two have to stay here." She only asked to see Allison besides. Helen is doing just fine. You guys! Ellen emerged from the medical area looking shocked. Helen's gone! What? John and Andrew exclaimed at the same time. They quickly pushed Ellen aside and ran to her room. Burke still stayed where he was. He knew that with Helen gone, Allison would be going with her. He didn't know what to do. Allison, I can't travel with the others anymore, Helen said to her friend. Ellen was still standing in the room. I need to continue the rest of this journey on my own, but I lack the strength to go further. Why would you want to do this alone? Allison asked her in surprise. Because there's something I must do, and I can't do it if I'm with everyone, Helen said impatiently. Please, Allison, I just need to go on without them near me. Allison looked down at the floor for a moment, unsure of what to do. She thought about how much easier they had moved when there weren't so many people. And all she wanted was to be human again. The thought of traveling without John and Burke made her feel a little sad inside, even though she knew that they would be reunited again someday. Ellen nodded to Helen and walked out of the room. All right, Allison looked into Helen's unwavering gaze. What do you want me to do? I want you to take over my body, Helen explained. I can't tell you where to go. I just need to get there to end this. How did this happen? John asked in surprise. He was looking out of the window that the girl had jumped out of. She had a broken ankle, for crying out loud. It was Allison, Burke said quietly. He sank onto the bed looking very depressed. Andrew stood by the doorway looking as though he were about to have a panic attack. She possessed Helen so that the two could move. Lando shook his head. He walked out to the waiting room to talk to Ellen, but the girl was nowhere to be seen. Where did she go? Monica looked up at this question. She had been discussing what to do without Helen with her brother. Reggie still slept soundly, all by his lonesome by the wall. She said she had an errand to run, and that she wouldn't be back. She wasn't that big of a help anyway. What if she knew where Helen was? John's temper was back. Oh, yeah. Monica said with a nervous laugh. I didn't think about that. What is the matter with you? Are you such a big ditz that you can't even think right? John shouted at her. Monica whimpered at John's harsh words. Burke put a hand on his brother's shoulder to try and calm him down, but he brushed off. Ron stood up, getting nose to nose with John. Back off, he said threateningly. That's my sister you're talking to like that. So then why did you let Ellen go? John asked. The two were talking in quiet voices, but the tension that built around them in the room made everyone uncomfortable. Because that woman is a waste of air, Ron said to him. Lando stuck his thumb and index finger in his mouth, whistling through them. The two men broke apart, and all the sleeping people in the room awoke. We won't get anywhere arguing like this. It's my belief that Helen will travel to where the last two people are, and if we want to catch her, we should get moving instead of arguing. John and Ron looked at the floor in embarrassment. It was decided that they should move to the next destination, but they had no way of knowing how long that would take. Reggie stood, cracking his old bones painfully as he moved. Are we in need of supplies? He asked the group. Monica looked in her pack and nodded. I think it's safe to assume that we all need supplies, she said quietly. She glanced over at John and then looked away, blushing. I'm sorry, John mumbled, scratching the back of his neck. I just misplace my anger sometimes. I've done a lot of growing, but it seems I still have a lot to learn. I'd say, Bert grumbled. He was frustrated about his brother starting a fight, but there was nothing he could do now. It's okay, Monica said with a sweet smile. I'll go get some supplies with my son and bring them back here, Reggie said, clearing his throat after a short, awkward silence. Andrew nodded and walked with his father out the door. The morning light was just beginning to peek its way out into the world, which meant as soon as the two men returned, it was time to move on. Helen would have already walked 4 hours ahead of them. Chapter 22, moving forward. We did it! Oh, right, we're getting closer to the end. Ooh. But yeah, if anyone is interested in buying this book, it is available on Amazon.com. But you would know that if you look in the description below, I'll put all the places you can buy it. If you want it, awesome. If not, that is okay too. But yeah. Anyway, hopefully I will see you guys next time. Bye!